It's time for another Dice Tower review with Zee Garcia.
Hey folks, today I'm taking a look at Daxu. Daxu here is a game for 2 players. It's a card game in which you are a shopkeeper and you are trying to have better shops than your opponents. However, you don't want to crush your opponent. You want to win by just a bit. That's the main trick in the game. In it, you are collecting sets by playing some cards. Very simple, very straightforward game. Let me show you how it works and then I'll tell you what I think of this one. So here's what the game looks like set up. Each player puts their pawn here in the center of this track and then is given 8 random cards which you'll organize in the spot they're supposed to go on, and you are pretty much ready to begin. The objective of the game is to have the most victory points, and you get victory points in this game by winning at each market, but you don't want to crush your opponent, you want to just barely win. That's the idea. And so here on the board we have 6 different types of markets basically, and then the cheat sheet here is going to tell you what scoring looks like. These 3 here, the ones on this side, if you win and beat your opponent by a single card, you are going to get 5 coins. If you beat your opponent by 2 cards, you get a little bit less, you get 3. However, if you win by 3 or more, you in fact lose 1, and your opponent gets a point for every card they have on their side in that color. And so, for example, right now, if we take a look at purple here, this player has 3, this player has a single purple, and so I would score on this side. I'm beating the opponent by 2, I would get 3 coins. Now, the other 3 stalls over here are a little bit more forgiving, and you get, if you are winning by 1, 4, etc., and then if you are losing by 4 or more, same thing. It's the opponent who scores their own cards, 1 coin per card on their own side. The way you acquire these cards is every round we are going to take the deck of cards here and we are going to flip over 3. And so I will put over 1, 2, 3. I'll just place these here for now. And then each player will pick a card from their hand and display it face down. Once both players have picked one, then you flip it over. The 4 choices you have here are: you can choose to take what's displayed, is what that card means. You can choose to give what is displayed, meaning give it to your opponent. You can play this card, which means whichever one of these your opponent plays, you agree to that. Or this one, which means whatever your opponent played, you switch that card. And so, for example, let's say on my turn, those 3 cards are displayed, and I would like to win those, so I'm going to play this card, and the opponent plays this card. Well, then that means they switched what I picked, meaning instead of taking them, I give them. My opponent would take all 3 of these, play them out, and then they would adjust this track here in the center, which basically represents honor, if you would, by the numbers displayed on these cards here. So in this case, -1. So they would take their pawn and move it to the -1 spot. Also, depending on the action you picked, you might win or lose some of that honor. So say these 2 here, if you choose to accept whatever your opponent wants to do, you get an honor. If you play a dirty trick on them, you lose 1. And at the end of the game, depending on where you ended up here, depends on if you get some bonus points. So for example, if I end up here, I get a bonus 5. There are 5 circles there in the center, a bonus 3 for those 3 circles there in the center. Not sure if you can see those. All the way up to a bonus 5 here, and possibly losing some. And this is also used as a way to break a tie, by the way, how much honor you have. But that's basically the game. You continue playing and always flipping over 3, flipping cards over and distributing them until the whole deck is gone, and then at the end of the game you score each place and this track here in the middle, and whoever has the most points is the winner. The game also has very simple rules for dealing with if people play the same card. I won't really be going into that, but that's basically the game. Have the most victory points and beat your opponent by just a little bit everywhere, and you walk away the winner. I'm a big fan of 2-player games, especially clean, sort of straightforward ones that are still clever designs. So a lot of the old Cosmos 2-player games, that sort of thing. And this game has that vibe to it. It feels like one of those classic games, which is very straightforward, very simple, but clever. And the scoring really is what makes the game. It feels to me like a Michael Schott game. And Michael Schott is a master of clever scoring systems. And this game feels like one of his games. So to me, that's a huge compliment. I really like the look of it. I like the quality of the production. The cards are great. Nice linen finish. Everything looks good. Everything is bright and clear. The concept of the game, the simultaneous selection is not revolutionary, and doesn't, melt the brain or anything with how many choices I have to make, but it does keep the game, popping along, and it is interesting to kind of get in your opponent's head a little bit and see what they might do and possibly play the card that switches what they're going to do, or just agree to what they're going to do, but then get some of that honor, that track in the center out of it. It's clever, and it is simple, but I've enjoyed it a lot. In fact, this is one of my, of the 2-player games I've played lately, I think this is one of my favorite ones. It's a real nice discovery for me for 2 players, and so I have to recommend it highly. If you can find a copy of this and you enjoy 2-player card games, then this is a great one. I think you should add it to your collection. Daxu, an absolutely neat, well put together game, which I was very impressed with. Go get this one, folks. Thumbs up from me.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.